A pretty good story in understanding that horses do not understand similarities. In the horse's brain, it is or it isn't. This isn't kind of like that and kind of like that in the way the horse views things. Horse just says it is or it isn't. So the way that this really got proved to me, a few years ago, somebody called me over from Chapel Hill and they had rescued a mini. And this mini bit, reared, kicked, and you couldn't catch him or her, a little filly, a little mare. And she was just a little knucklehead. So I went over and I got her and I put her in the trailer and I brought her home. Well, I put her inside the barn when I got home, just put her in a stall for the night because all my fences, I was like, she'd walk through this, and this. So I put her in the barn, and the next morning I finished cleaning all the stalls and I turned one little mare out and I'm like, well, I'll just turn that little mini out with her so she can have some outside time till I work with her. So I turned her out with that other horse, went on about my business. 30 minutes later I start looking for her. Where's she at? Where's she at? And I'm thinking, well, she's so tiny she could hide under a leaf. And I'm looking, I can't find that horse anywhere. So I have walked everywhere and I'm thinking, I wonder if she went down and walked through. I had what's called a person crossing at a gate. So you have your gate and then you have a little narrow place that people walk through, but a horse can't walk through it. I get to looking down on the ground and hear these two little mini tracks. And right up the center of the driveway, you can see the tracks. I'm like, son of a gun, she is gone home. So I head out on the Ranger, the little UTV, and we start up, get to the road, start down the road, because for some reason, every time a horse gets out, when it gets to my road, at the end of my driveway, it always turns left. I hardly ever have a horse to turn right. So I turned left, went down, first yard, there that mini is standing there eating. So I start approaching that mini, and my neighbor, how helpful he wants to be, comes out and says, I'll help you, and just exploded that mini. And she left. And she takes off through the middle of the woods that the Ranger won't go. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I come back to the house and I get Reba. And Reba sniffs a horse out pretty good. So we started riding, and Reba, and she'll start drawing to where a horse is. I mean, it's pretty cool. But we were that way right beside Highway 87, so that's a mile away. And Reba lifts her head, and she looks around. She kept looking over this knoll. And I'm looking, I said, I don't see anything. Finally, we ride up on this knoll. And way down at the back of this hayfield is this little mini standing there. Little mini's next to a fence, next to the highway. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, that mini looks over at us, sees Reba, and says, oh, like me. And that mini let out a holler and started running to Reba. Reba thought a whole pack of coyotes was coming after her. I mean, she was petrified, so she starts backing up. I'm trying to, no, stop. So then we start these circles, and we're doing these big loops, and I'm trying to get her back in control. And she's like, Daddy, it's going to eat us. It can't catch us. We got to go. And I'm like, no, it's a horse. I don't care what it is. So, and I'm not exaggerating, the field was half the size of this one. And we did loops all the way across it till we got to the edge. And when we got to the edge, there was a little plowed ditch, and she fell. And as she's falling, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I hadn't turned on my horse SOS. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna be here, a broke leg, hooked to the horse. She's gonna be running through the woods with that mini chasing her. This is not gonna be good. This whole thought is I'm falling to the ground. Well, by the time I hit the ground, that mini called us, and they touched noses. And Reba stood up. She says, it's just a horse, what's the deal? I mean, that's how fast that horse turned that on and off to realize, oh, it's just another horse. But by sight, she had never seen a horse that small. And then that horse made a sound that sounded kind of like hers, but that's not a horse. And it was a paint on top of it. And I'm sure she had seen paints before, but that was the day that I figured out horses don't understand similarities. And the proof in the pudding is if you ever put your horse around a mule, we look at a mule's a horse too. He's got funny looking ears and his feet are different. But He's a horse. But you put your horse around one and see how he acts. He is just like petrified. So it's a good way to understand in the horse's world, it is or it ain't, in the way that they understand things and see things.